We're getting a much clearer picture and better understanding this morning of the cost of living crisis in Canada's biggest city, how it relates to food insecurity and to the usage of food banks. The big number that we are highlighting this morning, 3.49 million, the number of times Toronto food banks were visited last year. 3.49 million is nearly 1 million visits more than last year. The Daily Bread Food Bank, one of two behind this latest report, and it's found food bank visits are up 273%. That's more than tripling since the pandemic. It's just an extraordinary picture. It's devastating. And Neil Hetherington is in studio with me this morning, the CEO of the Daily Bread Food Bank. Thanks for coming in today.
Good morning.
You know, you see what's happening at your food bank every day. You're right in the midst of the operations. But to pause and read this report and take it all in, what was your reaction?
Well, I wasn't surprised. Every single day I see the volunteers and the staff do extraordinary work to be able to serve the clients that are coming into the food bank. And coming in for the very first time, there were 155,000 clients who had never crossed the threshold of a doorway of a food bank in their life. And they had always thought, you know, that'll never happen to me. Mm-hmm. But it's happening to them, and it's happening to too many Canadians. There's about 9 million Canadians who are food insecure now, and so we know the challenge, but we also know the policy alternatives that are available to us, and we're hopeful that this report will be a sense of fuel for government to say, okay, how do we walk back from the limb that we're on?
Okay, we'll come back to solutions and recommendations in a moment, but let's dwell a little bit more on the picture that has emerged so clearly. You call it in the report a poverty crisis, but that seems to me that it doesn't even begin to cover it. All of it is grim. But are there particular groups or particular numbers that you find need to be highlighted exceptionally?
Well, the one that really frustrates me, 59% of food bank users, they're coming to the Daily Bread Food Bank, they have a post-secondary education and they have employment. And so they are the individuals who believed in that promise that if you go to school, you get a job and you work hard, you're going to be fine. Mm-hmm. Well, that promise is broken for far too many Canadians. And so we know it's because of a lack of affordable housing and precarious employment. And these are the types of things that we at the food bank are calling for change on.
So it's a multi-layered problem. I was going to say, you know, it's not just strictly food. There are so many aspects that go into creating the situation.
Exactly. Like food is absolutely just the symptom. It's a symptom of a much larger issue. So affordable housing not being present, the rise of precarious employment, and for me, a maddening one, the fact that those on disability incomes, those who can't work, they can't gain their income from employment, are legislated to be in poverty by $1,000 per month. The poverty line's about $2,300 in Ontario, and they get about $1,300 a month. And you and I, none of us can survive on $1,300, and why we think that the most vulnerable segment of our population can survive on that is maddening. Newcomers,
children, young adults, I mean, they all emerge as worrisome groups here as you look at it. And when we talk about the big number, that 3.49 million visits, that's up by 1 million from the year before. Why has it exploded in the past year?
Well, there's a number of reasons, and we anticipated that explosive growth. Our board of directors at Daily Bread said, you know what, things are bad during the pandemic, but when people run out of their savings, when they run out of friends and family to rely on, they're going to have to come to charity. They're going to have to come to the Daily Bread Food Bank. And so there was a really very keen strategic decision made at that point. And so why are they coming? Well, there's the continued growth of unaffordable rents. That would be a primary driver, the lack of decent affordable housing. That would be the number one, and incomes that simply aren't keeping up with expenses.
Okay, incomes, because we talk about how inflation is coming down, the actual cost of living, but you're not seeing it any material way in terms of the numbers coming to your food bank.
That's right, and so we're hopeful that that all levels of government will take this report, and you know, we as volunteers and staff, we can agonize over these numbers, or we can organize for these neighbors. And we're choosing to organize for these.
Agonize or organize, is that sort of the agonize or organize? You're choosing that path.
We're going to choose the path that provides a sense of hope.
But how do you even begin to tackle a problem as complex and as wide-ranging as this?
Well, I think you turn to the Canada Disability Benefit. just a few years ago, it was a dream of disability advocates across the country, and we were able to join forces with coalitions of individuals who had the exact same sense of values and exact same purpose, and we lobbied and we said to the government, this is where you need to bring the Canada Disability Benefit. And in April, they announced funding for it. It's not enough. It's wholly inadequate, but it is a start. And so, you know, there's the regular phrase that, you know, community, when they come together, they can achieve great things.
I'm wondering also, if these things don't happen, if this change doesn't happen, what does the future look like, Neil?
It's difficult now, but it will be grim in 18 months. We will have to decrease the amount of food that we are sending out to clients. Right now, it's 3 days worth of food every 7 days for a family, and that number will be 2.7 and 2.5. It'll decrease, and that will be exceedingly painful. But we have a little bit of runway. We have a little bit of time. And so let's focus on that ability to get rent supplements across the country at a faster pace. Let's focus on how we can fully fund the Canada Disability Benefit. These are the types of policy alternatives that we know are there. We just need the courage, will, and leadership at all levels of government to implement these things.
It's government, yes, at all levels. It's an interesting time, too, in terms of making this available for people, holiday time of year, lots of fundraisers and things for you, including just on a totally different note, or what would seem to be a totally different note. Taylor Swift's coming to Toronto, and that may be a benefit for you. Tell me a little bit about that.
It is a great opportunity. We're for her hopefully to divest of a little bit of her wealth, and so we're hopeful that she'll contribute to feeding the need now. But we've you know, just down the street, right across the street from the CBC studio, it's Taylor Swift Way, and it's been renamed by the City of Toronto. And those signs are up for auction at Daily Bread Food Bank right now. And each one of those signs that gets auctioned, the amount that it's sold for will be matched by a donor, and that's extraordinary. And so we hope to raise about 250,000 meals just from the concert by the private sector and the community rallying together. And so I'm excited about that. I'm not a huge Swiftie per se, but I am now.
You could be a convert if it makes that big. I raise that because, I mean, obviously this is just a short-term impact, but it's something that will answer a need at this time of year. Neil, thank you so much. We've been leading our newscast with the report today, talking about the areas that are really being exposed and the solutions to them. So I appreciate hearing from you directly on this today.
Thanks so much, Heather.
Thanks a lot.